Hi, this is video number 51. I didn't think I would come back so soon, but I've been I got a lot of emails since the last time that I videoed, which was I think 2 days ago. So I don't want to get too far behind in the email, so I thought I would come back here and talk a little bit. I just got back from PT. Things are going real well there. They measured my range of motion today with some sort of gizmo they have there, and it's a lot better than it was when we started 4 weeks ago. So that's very encouraging. I have an appointment yet next week, which may be the last one. So hopefully I'll be getting out there golfing soon, and might even be able to play some ball again here, maybe later in the summer, or maybe wait till next year. I'm not sure, but there is an old guys league, softball league in the area that you have to be at least 62 to be in, and I'm 62 right now, so maybe next year will be my rookie season. I'm not sure. So anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit first about like the neuroscience, the paper that I wrote, if you want to call it a paper. I'm not sure. It's the write-up of my findings. I've sent it out to a few people. Yesterday I sent it out to a few people. I'm waiting for some response from them. I'm trying to make sure that it's understandable. It's not like some sort of published work or anything. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for something like I write that's understandable, that people get it, they see the reasoning, the logic behind it, and so forth. This morning I was thinking like the next step. What is the next step? And a lot of mornings, like when I'm drinking my coffee, that's my best time to think. I don't know why that is. It's always been that way, but I was pacing around in the family room thinking about this, and what's coming. This is gonna sound weird. What's coming to me now is I'm at a point where it's a matter of trying to imagine, think how your brain thinks. That sounds weird, I know. It's kind of like if I were my brain, what would I have done? Like being on the benzos and having, the GABA, doing a number on me, and I'm so relaxed and so forth. What would I do if I were my brain? Because taking benzos and then the effect it has on you is certainly not, that's not natural. It's like too good. And the brain, I think, doesn't like that. So it sounds weird. Like, what would I do if I were my brain? So I'm kind of thinking along those lines now. And not so much like the chemicals and the receptors and so forth. Those are the things that the brain uses to do what it thinks it has to do. I know that sounds weird, but it's kind of like, I think, this might be a good way of looking at it. So that's where I'm going with it. So I'm hoping to hear back from some people soon about, what I sent to them, and that they do understand that I sent it to Michelle's son, Miles. He's doing some research. I think he's writing a paper or something for having to do with people in benzo withdrawal and sampling the population and coming up with a way of analyzing the population and so forth in hopes of helping people in benzo withdrawal. So I'm hoping he takes a look at this and he understands it and he can give me some feedback. And he's a smart guy, I can tell. Anyway, I want to get into the emails here. I got 4 since my last video. Okay, the first one is from Bree. I had talked about one of her emails the last time, I think. She writes, "Thank you, Don, for this explanation and the video, because I'm sure others may struggle with this same question." And that's part of why I'm reading emails to you now, because I know you all have a variety of symptoms, but a lot of the symptoms are the same, and I think it's reassuring to know there are other people going through this that are having the same kinds of feelings, the same sensations, and so forth. So I think there is some utility in that for you. Okay, on another crappy note, I'm still struggling. For 3 weeks now, my mind has been running 24/7 with intrusive thoughts. They loop and loop. I just want them to stop. I am so fearful they are never going to go away, and my brain is never going to just be calm and at peace. It makes me feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm trying to cope and distract, but it's almost impossible. Along with this is severe physical anxiety. The only relief I have had is that it's for a couple minutes. I struggled with this through my taper as well, but it always came in waves, and I would have good windows where my mind would be calm. Now it feels like my brain is stuck in one big cluster mess. Any reassurance is appreciated. Thank you. Okay. Intrusive thoughts. Yes. For 3 weeks she's had them now. I remember them very, very well. Constant looping. And my mind would get stuck on mostly one thing at a time. It would just over and over and over. It was very much like, and even people who aren't in withdrawal, sometimes you get that looping song. Like I've heard a lot of people talk about this. You get the song that just keeps playing and playing and playing, and that's how it is. I remember in this very room, I would wake up, and the computer sitting on the bed right now, and I would have a song in my head. It would just play and play, and I would wake up and it would be right there, and it was playing, playing, playing. It was intrusive. I kept thinking it over and over and over. That is, in itself was not so bad, but there were other thoughts I would get that were just horrible, just nasty, horrible thoughts, and they wouldn't stop. They would go on forever. I remember one time a lady who was about, I think she wasn't quite 2 years off yet. She called me and she was like crying and upset. She was having this intrusive thought about one of her nephews and how she thought maybe back at some time in her past she had done something, made some sort of sexual advance or remark or something, and she kept going over and over and over this in our conversation. And I finally convinced her, like, well, just ask him, like, if there's anything, if I've done anything, like, let me know. And so she did finally ask him, and like, he said, what are you talking about? Like, nothing like that ever happened. So we get these thoughts in our head, and they won't leave. For me, with the intrusive thoughts, I did get to a point where, and I've talked about this before, I could change the thought. I could change, like, okay, I'm going to think about this weird thing right now, and then I would just obsess over that. So, and the same with the songs. I did get to a point where it was like a jukebox. I could change the song in my head, and then it would just play and play and play until I changed it again. So intrusive thoughts are very, very common. Distraction, it's almost impossible. That's true, but you just try to distract. You just try. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't seem to help at all. Okay, along with this, severe physical anxiety, very common. My physical anxiety was always, I would have this like electrical thing, but in my stomach mostly, in my intestines, it would just start to burn when I would get really, really anxious. And especially my worst anxiety was right after having my therapy with my therapist, and then right after driving home. You would think your therapist would like calm you down and help you, and she always made me worse. I never came out of there feeling better. So I would get this thing in my stomach, this knot, and then I would like have panic attacks. The physical anxiety, that's very, very common. Okay, I struggle with the taper. It would come in waves. Had windows during the taper, but yeah, the brain being stuck, that's how it feels. It just does. It does end. It will end. It does. It seems impossible, but it will. I guarantee it. It does end. Okay. Next email is from Christine. I think in the last video I had read one of hers too. Thank you for today's video. I look forward to them. I'm interested in getting a copy of your research paper. I was waiting until I talked about this email, Christine, before I sent you the paper, so I'll do that probably later today. So glad it will not be technical. It's 12 pages. There is some, you have to talk a little bit technical, but I tried to really minimize that. Hopefully you'll understand that. When I had benzo brain, there was no way I would have understood this. I really was pretty much brain dead for a long time. A question. I thought I was having a window back in March, but now I wonder if it was just a really good baseline. Yesterday I had about a 5-minute period where I actually sensed reality. Good. My mind was in my old life again. I can't remember my old life and how I used to function, but once it came back, it was like, wow. If so, I guess I can say I had my first window. It's been about 7.5 months. Let me know your thoughts. Again, thank you. And P.S. Thank you for sharing the email from Lisa in the last video. She lives in Wisconsin, very close to Lisa, so she's hoping that they get to meet at some point, and I'm sure they will. Okay. My mind was in my old life again. I can't remember my old life and how it used to function, but once it came back, wow. And I've spoken to that too. Like, it's like when you start to feel well. I didn't have windows. Mine just started to. It was like I got the beginning of a window at about 14, 15 months, and then it just started to. It was like, wow. I remember that this is life. I did have a life in the past, and it wasn't all black and horrible. It was maybe. I struggled with lots of things in my past from the way my life was, but I certainly laughed and had fun and was able to enjoy life. So when it comes back, it's like that big feeling I've talked about. It's there. You think like, wow, I did have a life. And I know a lot of people are afraid that they won't remember, that they're stuck in this thing and they can't possibly ever remember what it was like. Well, that's just not true. You remember very well what it's like. It's at one time I had written a thing about it was like being somewhere and seeing myself return, and I recognized myself immediately. Because in withdrawal you don't recognize yourself. You don't know who you are, and it's scary. It is scary. I know that. But you recognize yourself immediately. It's very cool when it happens. I'm wishing for more windows. And I'm glad people send me, stuff about windows, because that's what I can see. People are getting better, and that's why I do this, like so that I can see your joy. I can hear your joy in your emails. Okay, the next one is Anonymous. I wanted to tell you how much all the videos have been helping me. I really look forward to when you post a new one. It's encouraging to hear you and the stories of others. I have to say there has been an improvement in my symptoms. All right. It is not over yet, as just a couple of days ago I was so sick, feeling just like the beginning. But at least now I am getting some breaks. It has been 14 months since my last dose of Xanax, which was taken only as prescribed once a day at a very low dose for anxiety. What a hellish road it had been, but I am seeing a light, however small it may be. And that's window stuff there. That's 14 months. That's when I started to I could see okay, I think I'm starting to feel better here. So that's encouraging. This is encouraging. Okay, Dawn, why is it that the healing from these medications goes up and down like this? You would think that if your brain gets it right once, it would continue to get it right. There are times when I feel like it is over, only to be slammed once again with horrible symptoms. The windows have been joyous. Good word, joyous. It is true how easy life seems during these times. I notice, though, that no matter how good I may feel in the early part of the day, right around 3 o'clock or so, it always goes downhill. The fatigue is not like normal tired. It is like my legs just don't want to stand anymore. The dizziness usually starts up again, pounding in my head, the whole bit. I am thankful that I have some moments of relief, though, because it is the first time in over a year that I can say I feel almost myself sometimes. Anyway, thank you again for your site, your videos, and the support. If it weren't for you, I think I would still be pounding down my doctor's door, wondering what was wrong. Yeah. And hearing that the only thing that helps is more medication. God bless you and Michelle for providing this. Okay, let me see. Okay, the door slamming. I've talked about this too before, but I can tell this isn't happening to you, that a lot of people get windows and then the door slams, the wave comes, and it's like the window never happened, and they try to convince themselves that it never did. But this particular lady is like, yes, this was a window for sure. And when I started feeling well, it was in the mornings. Just like it's being said here, and mornings were my worst time of day for most of the time. For the longest time, I would wake up and I would just be in terror. that I had to go downstairs and face a day. So that's how it was for me. And it was mostly mental stuff. I know it was fear and depression and so forth. But when I started to feel better, it was the mornings. I would get an hour or two in the morning where I feel like doing something, actually wanted to do something, and the fear would subside. I remember the first morning, I would always get up and make the bed that this is on, and it was just horrible, and I would be in terror that I got to go face a day. And I remember the first morning where I was making the bed thinking like, I'm not afraid. I feel I can go downstairs and, read my meditation stuff and face the day and do whatever comes along. So, and I wasn't so afraid of like, well, what am I going to do all morning? I remember when that happened for me. It was right around 14 months. So maybe, you're going to follow my timeline a little bit. Hard to say. Let me see what else. The question, why is it that the healing from these medications go up and down like this? That's a really good question. The window wave thing, that's true. Even for me, it was true. Like when I started feeling better, like in the afternoon became like the worst part of the day for me. It kind of flip flopped. It didn't get worse, but by comparison, the morning was better. I think there probably are reasons for windows and waves, and I think it has to do with the brain changes the gene expression. That's in the paper that I wrote and so forth. But I think it has something to do with that and being able to revert back to the way genes are supposed to be expressed and not being able to do that. It has something to do with, I think, internal memory of the brain. And I won't go any further into that, but I think there actually is a reason for it. So anyway, having windows, excellent. That's excellent. Thank you for letting me know that, and for letting everybody else know too. Okay, the next one. This is the last one, number 4. From a lady named Karen. I got this morning. Hi Dawn, hope you are well. Since we last spoke, the akathisia and agitation has improved a lot, but now I'm experiencing extreme anxiety, terror, and fear, all for no reason at all. I remember that, like, just irrational fear and just terror for no reason. It's just there. It just exists. It's a bad symptom. It's one of the worst. But I think everybody gets it, actually. It's the one symptom that seems to just be there. Can you tell me if this is normal, please, with people who are in withdrawal from SSRIs? Yes, it is. And I mostly deal with people getting off benzos. I was on SSRIs some, but not for a real long time, so I didn't get a bad withdrawal from those. My experience with SSRIs was horrible, but my withdrawal really didn't include those, but I have read a lot of stories, talked to a lot of people getting off SSRIs, and the withdrawal can be extremely bad. It just can be, and a lot of the symptoms they're the same as benzo withdrawal. So it is normal, and I think if my hypothesis, my theory of change in gene expression is right, and I'm pretty sure it is, it would include withdrawal from any kind of psychotropic substance, really, including SSRIs. The brain, when you try to think like the brain would think, you try to imagine what it would do to alleviate the problem that when you're putting an anthropogenic substance in your brain, it's not naturally there. Whether you believe a creator created you and did your brain chemistry and physiology, it's something that was not there, when you were created, or even evolution. These are substances that, if we evolved, they were not in the environment, they were not around, they're not natural. It's like we're messing up creation or we're messing up evolution, one or the other, with these chemical substances, and that can't be good. That can't be good. Anyway, I'm 8 months off now. I have a ton of other symptoms as well, but the anxiety is absolutely the worst, and is disabling to the point where I feel afraid to move, breathe, or walk. It's just horrendous. My face is burning so badly, I'm totally agoraphobic and socially phobic. These things I have never experienced in my entire life, and I have no underlying mental or physical problems. I am literally terrified of everything, have extreme depersonalization and derealization, and so hypersensitive to light and sound. I'm terrified that this is how I will be now, that my life is over, and I only turned 32 a couple days ago. Please can you reassure me, Don? There is barely any help out there for SSRI withdrawal, and the sites I have looked at are way too scary for me. There seems to be a lot of scary stuff on there. Thank you as always. Yes. And P.S. If it's possible, can I talk with you on the phone one day? That would help. And I'm going to talk about, I do hope to do phone calls here, as I said in the last video here before too long. I'll have to change some things around, I think. Let me see. A lot in this one. As I said, I think SSRI withdrawal it's fundamentally, I think fundamentally the brain does the same sort of thing as it does for benzos, for mood stabilizers, antipsychotics, and so forth. So I think it's normal. It is normal. Let me see. I'm terrified of everything. Yes. That's very, very common. I remember the huge terror started for me was my last day of work when I was 1 month off Klonopin. I was at work and it just hit me. I was absolutely terrified of everything. The thought of coming back to work the next day just was like, I thought just the terror would kill me. And that was my last day of work. So the terror is very common. I know it's more than uncomfortable. It seems unbearable, but you have to try to grasp you're afraid of nothing. So that this is just a chemical, physiological thing. This is not like, it's not doom and gloom that anything's going to happen to you. It's just, this is what the chemicals do to you. Okay, there was something else too that I wanted to, okay, the sensitivity to light and sound. I had that. A lot of people have that for a long time. I had it probably the first maybe 6 or 7 months. At least 7 months, because I remember at 7 months we had my wife's cousin came and was putting new shingles on the house, and the noise was just horrendous. She was at work, I was at home, and it just was terrifying me. It sounded so horribly loud, and I was even like 2 stories down from the roof. So the noise was just really, really bad. There were other times where I did things that just the noise, and it wasn't a loud noise, but it just was so bad. I remember the first few months when my wife would go to work, I would turn the TV on, like a music channel, just to pretend like somebody was with me, and it was almost inaudible. I had to have the music on, but I could barely hear it, but I couldn't turn it up any louder. So that's very, very common. Hypersensitivity to sound, light too. It's like I would go out for a walk a lot of days at the beginning, and the light didn't bother me too much outside. Light didn't bother me as much as sound. The sound was much, much, much worse. But a lot of people do have tremendous problem with sensitivity to light. So that's very common. Your life is not over. This is not the new you. Believe me, this is at some point going to be the old you, only a temporary you. You're going to be new and improved. I promise you that. And when it happens, it's stunning. It really is very stunning. You're going to get through this. This is not the new you. This is not, your life isn't over. You're 32. I kind of wish I was 32 again. That was 30 years ago, but you got a good life ahead, and this will actually be to your benefit in the future, because you can look back on this, and this will improve you in ways that, I mean, you can't even imagine now. And I won't even explain it to you now, because you won't understand, you won't believe it. But you'll be so much better when this is over, and it will be over. I promise you that. So that is the end of the emails. Let me see where I'm at here. 25 minutes. Wow, let's go on and on. Okay, so that's it for today. Hang in there. You're gonna do it. I know this is hard. This is it'll be the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. It really will. I can't imagine something more difficult. And to take something from like the Lisa in Wisconsin that I talked about in one of the last videos, you're warriors. She uses that phrase a lot. You're warriors. You really, really are. There's not a harder battle, a harder war than this. This is a war. This is and the sad thing is, it's all inside your head. It's not out and about. It's like inside our head, it's like our brain is battling against itself. And I think literally that's what's happening. The drugs have caused it to do something to protect itself, but what it has done, it's almost like it's fighting feelings. It's producing feelings that was not its intent to do that. It's correcting something else it thought, it thinks. And so it's creating this problem that feels like part of your brain's fighting against the other part, trying to kill it or just scare it to death. I don't know, but that will end. It's going to end. That will go away with all the rest. Just take some time, and maybe we'll slip into something here and find something that makes it go a whole lot faster. So I will end for now, and I'll be back at some point after I get some more emails and so forth, or something happens and I discover something that I want to talk about. So till then, hang in there. I'm always here for you. Bye-bye.